Friends, today we celebrate the 13th Sunday in Ordinary Time. The readings invite us to place Christ above every other attachment and to discover that true life is found not in preserving ourselves, but in giving ourselves away. Now, a fifth grader came home from school and announced, "Have decided I want to be adopted." His parents looked at each other in surprise and asked, "But why?" "Because I bet another family has fewer chores, a bigger allowance, and unlimited ice cream," said the child. His mother smiled and said, "That's not what adoption is about. Adoption isn't about finding a better deal. It's about someone choosing you, loving you, and making you part of their family." My dear friends, in our first reading today from the second book of Kings, chapter 4, the Shunammite woman recognizes something in Elisha that others may have missed. She sees not merely a traveler, but a man through whom God is present. So she does something remarkable, builds a room for him in her home. Now, this looks like a simple act of hospitality, but it is an act of surrender. She makes room for God before she knows what God will do for her. Thus, the miracle of the text is not first the promised child, rather the human heart that becomes spacious enough for God. Now, God's greatest gift is not what he gives us, but his very presence. Before God blesses Abraham, as we read in Genesis with descendants, he calls Abraham into friendship. Before he gives Israel a land, he dwells among them. Before he gives the disciples a mission, he calls them to be with him. There is always a temptation to reverse this order when we make room for God's gifts and not for God himself. Now, this theme reaches its climax in today's gospel reading, according to Matthew chapter 10. Jesus says, "Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me." These words can sound harsh unless we understand who Jesus is. If Jesus were merely a teacher or a theologian, such words would be outrageous. But Jesus speaks as the one through whom all things were made, the one in whom every human relationship finds its origin and purpose. Thus, Jesus is claiming his rightful place as the source of all love. Therefore, the question is, what occupies the center of our identity? For many people, identity is built up around family, career, success, reputation, politics, or personal achievements. These are good, don't get me wrong, but they cannot be a weight of being ultimate. That is where the second reading from the St. Paul's letter to the Romans chapter 6 becomes so powerful. St. Paul teaches that through baptism we have died with Christ and rise with him. Thus, baptism does not merely improve us, but fundamentally redefines us. This means that the Christian life is not primarily about becoming more religious, but belonging to a new family, a new humanity, a new creation. The fifth grader in our story thought adoption was about receiving better benefits. But the good news today is that salvation is God's act of claiming us as his own. Are we or are you willing to let him become the center for which other people see God through you? Now, here are some concrete ways that God can be the center of our life. Number one, begin the day by surrendering it to God. Before ever checking your phone or your schedule, or spend, even if it is 5 minutes in prayer, let this day belongs to you. Let the thoughts, words, action glorify God. The first voice you hear shape the rest of your day. Number two, ask one simple question before every important decision. Now, instead of asking, "What do I want?" ask, "What would please God here?" This changes how we spend money, how we speak to people, how we forgive, work, or even rest. Number three, stay rooted in the scripture. Now, reading the Bible is not merely gathering information. It's allowing God's mind to reshape ours. Even one gospel passage each day can gradually transform your priorities. Number four, love people the way Christ would. Jesus says the greatest commandments are to love God and to love our neighbor. Every interruption, difficult co-worker, demanding child, or lonely person becomes an opportunity to put God at the center. Remember, love is the visible evidence that God is truly first. May God bless you.